got any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions?
Sounds good.
27 of our new teachers are Campbell County graduates, just so you know.
Oh, great.
Oh, cool.
That's
That is
great.
cool.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, the board will hear matters from the floor. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please be respectful of the 3-minute time limit. Prior to speaking, please state your name and address. Comments must be directed to the board and not to staff, the audience, or the media. Thank you. Okay, I believe first up, we have Crystal Coleman.
Good evening. I am Crystal Coleman from Alta Vista, Virginia. When one really believes in parental rights, one knows that the only way for this to be fully supported is for parents and guardians to be provided with complete and transparent information at all times. It seems that Amherst and Bedford have gotten a good start on that premise. For example, Bedford County School Libraries create parent alert system for book checkout. Amherst school officials to appoint committee for input on library content review policy. Amherst School Board reviews teacher principal evaluation systems as regards cultural competency. You know what Campbell County got? One sentence at last month's board meeting about possible technology being worked on regarding school libraries. Have we received any updated information on the SEL standards, on the cultural competency training, on the cultural competency part of the teacher evaluation tool? We have heard nothing but crickets from this board on any of that. But not to worry. I contacted the Department of Ed myself, and I started out with the Office of the Superintendent of Instruction. So I got the answers. We can't even get transparent and logical information on proposed policy changes. Instead, we get a list of phrases and references to Virginia code that a Philadelphia lawyer would love to get their hands on. What everyday community member is going to have the time and wherewithal to cross-reference all of that to find out what's going on? Or maybe that's the point to begin with. Don't tell anyone anything, or when you pretend to, make it so mixed up that no one really knows what's going on. I can't believe that this is the same school system that led the way in school safety measures after Sandy Hook and stood out amongst all the neighboring counties in the efforts to keep our children in school during the pandemic. If your so-called efforts to provide parents with rights as regards the content in our school libraries is anything like the mess we've been handed recently, then every parent and guardian should be standing at the front door of each school on day one to make sure it's done correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Okay, next would be Ms. Jackie Mendez.
Good evening. My name is Jackie Mendez. I live in Abington, Virginia, so right down the road. So it's been a year that we've addressed this body, and still many more questions remain unanswered. Moms for Liberty again made an appeal to this board on matters of gender identification practices still lingering in the classroom. We have some updates, but we heard from the superintendent, thank you. But we're still trying to understand, where is this teacher going rogue? We have several concerns we're raising at this meeting today, and that what pronouns do they identify with? The parent contacted us for guidance. We recommended they send a letter to the board members. You all received my email, as well as the superintendent, to seek clarification on this egregious practice. Please kindly address the audience today on how this was handled and how you will prevent future occurrence. So we trusted you, our political leaders, those who regularly attend local school board meetings, to be the watchful eyes of the school board. Today, we are proposing that this board begin town hall meetings to inform the public and parents in answering questions regarding school operations, curriculum, instruction, accountability, and accreditation, and student support practices. We need transparency. So this format that I'm proposing, our monthly school board meetings remain ineffective for parents and community members to engage in a dialogue and to collaborate on matters impacting children and teachers and administrators. Business as usual cannot continue. So a format could be in person or can be a virtual, so you don't feel that someone will go after you or something. You certainly have the technology to do that. We can start with quarterly format if you choose, but we need the back and forth dialogue. This doesn't work. One-way conversation doesn't answer our questions, and people don't have an input. So Moms for Liberty is a national organization that stands on principle of parental rights, correct? And that's what we're seeking here. We came together as a group in Campbell County to address the following: transgender issues, bathroom safety, and school sport, critical race theory, school board neglect of instruction and safety, selection of books, inappropriate books found in school, and curriculum use and selected to teach American history, and integrity of school board members and term limits were discussed. So if I last remember, Dr. Johnson works for the Campbell County School Board. The school board members work for the constituents in this county, okay? So we need answers, accountability, and transparency. So we look forward to hearing from you about opening up and having town hall meetings here in Campbell County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next be Mr. Doug Behringer. Is he
He's
here?
not here, he's sick.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, thanks to all the speakers that came out. Next item up is the approval of the July 25th meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the July 25th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Brandt and a second by Mr. Maddox. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Payment of the bills. Do we have a motion on?
Mr. Chairman, I move we pay the bills insofar as funds allow.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Phillips. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Ms. McClanahan, acceptance, donations.
Tonight you have three donations. Tonight you have three donations that were listed in advance of the meeting. Unless you have any questions, I ask that you approve them as presented.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion by Ms. Parker and a second by Mr. Maddox. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All donations are welcome. Thank you, Michelle. Consideration of non-resident tuition. Ms. McClanahan again.
Tonight you have 57 applicants that were being considered for approval as non-resident tuition students. Unless you have any questions, I ask that you approve them as your approval will generate additional revenue.
Are we in line with last year pretty much?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no other questions, I'll move that we approve the addition of this non-resident students.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Brandt and a second by Mr. Phillips. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Hunley.
Mr. Epperson, members of the board, you have a much shorter personnel report in front of you this evening. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd ask that you approve it as written.
How close are we to 100%?
Pretty close. So there is a possibility of not filling 2 positions because we're going to redistribute and do some things differently there. And then starting with a long-term sub at another position, but other than that, we'll be fully staffed.
Great.
How about custodians?
Custodians, we were able to hire this summer, yes. I think with the change of our classified pay scale and increasing that starting salary, starting it at a minimum of $13, that helped. We do still have some classified staff to fill, but we did pick up several custodians this
That's great.
summer.
Thank you.
Where are we with bus drivers this year, starting out? Are we in?
The last we talked, you were about 2 full-time positions short, 2 to 3?
Too short. The main concern is substitutes, utility drivers. So with the 2 on board, which we are onboarding 3 new drivers. So once they get in there, that'll be good for the day-to-day. The issue is just thin in terms of substitutes. So that's the next target is looking at and fortifying that path forward.
Okay, good, thanks. If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion from Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Maddox. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Onions. Mr. Sis.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tonight, we have 3 families who have requested religious exemption. They filed the proper paperwork. If there are no questions, I ask you to approve those families.
Sounds good.
Move for approval.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Brandt, a second by Ms. Parker. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Sisk. And now we have a policy.
Yes, sir. Tonight, we have a number of policies before you. They came to you for first reading last meeting. If there are no questions, I ask that you approve those tonight.
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
Cell phones. This policy states that high schoolers can have phones during athletics events.
Yes.
I'm good, but I think it ought to be any kid.
Any child. Okay, I can make that change.
I mean, it's just-
All students
Well,
are-
here's the thing, a parent sends a kid with the cell phones and call me when the game's over.
Absolutely.
And I'd hate for a kid, a middle schooler, to get in trouble calling her mom to come get it.
I will make that amendment.
Everybody else is
I'm in agreement with that.
I'm good
okay
with it.
that. All right, thank you.
Just a clarification, I'm trying to scroll and find it. Did it also, on the bus too, wasn't it also only the middle schoolers would get in trouble and the high schoolers?
No, we don't
would?
use it on the bus.
It's all, everybody on the
They
bus?
can use them if they're traveling to a game, they could just listen to their
Okay.
earphones and
All
whatnot.
right, gotcha.
That's the-
No, I think that's great.
That's the goal of it. They do, I mean,
Yeah,
kids been doing that a while, probably.
Okay. And just for clarification, now, you're going to make that change. Now, we bring it again to vote, or we can just vote
You can make it now.
with those changes?
Make it
Okay,
with the
just want to
motion.
make sure, clear on that. Okay. Any
I'll make a
further-
motion with the change.
I got another question. You defined before and after school, so is that, how is that defined? Is that before homeroom or,
That's what I would define it as.
and then
Yes.
after the last class is
Yes.
out, they can have them after that
Yes,
last class?
that's how I would define that.
Do we need to further, I don't know if we need to put additional detail in there defining what is meant by that, or if that, everybody good with the way it's currently stated, or?
So far, when I've asked, my students and the folks at school, they say that they go over it in assembly after assembly and that the homeroom teachers are pretty clear with them. But, I don't have any opposition to clarifying it in the policy either.
So you
I'm
make
good if we-
those changes.
Cover it at the individual schools, clarification there, but it just wasn't clearly defined in the policy, actually, so I don't know if we need to add any
Yes, sir.
verbiage in there about prior.
That's a big
homeroom
step, and I appreciate everybody taking that seriously, because we've been very strict for a long time, but things have changed over the last 20 years, and I think this is a good step. Thank you.
Okay. I think we had a motion by Mr. Maddox.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we had a motion by Mr. Maddox and a second by Mr. Jones. Is there any further discussion regarding the policy? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those, just say no. Thank you.
Thank you,
Motion
sir.
carries.
Dr. Johnson.
Dr. Johnston?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you recall, several months ago, it's been quite a few months now, we received notice from an attorney in regards to Frances Swart. She left Campbell County some funds to use for a scholarship at Rustburg High School and to establish this trust. Well, in setting up the trust, and she did not, or the will didn't specify a trustee. And in order to set up the trust and you have and get a tax ID number and all that, we had to have a trustee. So Sam Vance and Mr. Hawkins' office is petitioning the circuit court, if you agree, it's the only way we're going to be able to do it, to change the, to basically set up the school board as a trustee, which you would then act through a designee, and he would recommend the superintendent as the trustee, and then we can get an IRS, 501c, whatever, identification number, and then the money can be invested, and then the interest from the money can be distributed per the instructions of the will. So I would recommend that you allow Mr. Vance to move forward with that.
How much money is it?
300,000, but you can only spend
A percentage?
the
interest.
copas. You can't spend the 300,000, it has to be
Yeah,
whatever.
all in
the-
interest,
Yeah.
So does this say scholarship, a donation to the school or a scholarship for students per year that
Per
somebody
year.
nominates?
Yes,
And they'll set that up after we
that
get,
is
so
correct.
one step at a time?
yes.
Okay.
So
And it
who
said
will-
Rustburg High
Very
School
generous.
only.
Yes, yeah, very
Who
generous.
will decide the scholarship?
We haven't gotten that far.
We just getting it rolling.
Yeah, we're just trying to still get the trust set up. But it'll be a committee like it is a lot of the others. It'll,
Gotcha.
teacher representative, principal and so forth.
I make a motion, we get the ball rolling.
Just while asking questions, is there criteria set up in the gift? You understand what I'm saying? Is there criteria for the recipient?
It's pretty vague.
Is, okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty vague.
It's just money.
Just a scholarship fund and a bulk amount. and-
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
He made
Had a
it.
motion by Mr. Maddox and a second by Mr. Jones. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Great. Dr. Johnson, you have anything else? Report of the superintendent.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One, I wanted you to know that Senator Newman's office reached out to me and we discussed a meeting that he wanted to have with the other jurisdictions or the other regional school systems. He wants to call it the Region 2000 School Security Summit. We're hosting, he asked if we would host it for him here. We're hosting that here this Thursday. The other superintendents and then their either the police chiefs or sheriff's department, people that are relative to or important in regards to making decisions on school safety. We'll have a discussion. He believes that it'll be a lot of bills coming out in the next upcoming General Assembly session around school safety with some funding, and he wants to hear what we are currently doing, as well as other division and what our needs are and those types of things. So we'll be hosting that. This Thursday.
Cool. That it? Okay. All right, at this time, matters from the board. Mr. Jones.
Just getting excited, school getting back in session, everything getting rolling, and look forward to that. And the best news I heard was 27 new teachers from Campbell County. That's very impressive. I mean, I remember in the years past, we've always strived to get Campbell County, graduates to come back and teach, and it sounds like we're doing something right. Appreciate it. And that's all I got.
Mr. Phillip.
Yeah, just in regards to the new teachers, wanted to commend Dr. Johnson, you and your staff. I've heard some real horror stories on the radio and news about having trouble finding teachers to fill spots. So with near 100% spots full and custodians good and bus drivers. Dr. Rennell, a nice job there. Sounds like we're in much better shape than some other localities, so commend you and your staff on that effort. I heard from Dr. Shields from Rustburg High School. So fall sports have started up this past week, and they had a camp for the football team, and the band also hosted a camp this past week. So great hearing that those activities are getting back up and underway despite the heat. And the middle school continues to come along, so it's good to keep an eye on that. Looks like most of the outside is finishing up the parking lot now, but a lot of work going on inside at this point. So have you heard, Dr. Johnson, I know there's been some discussion about the air handlers on the roof, and if there are any ideas on how to cover those up better, if anything's come to that yet?
There's ongoing discussion with the architects on that, a couple of different options. One was painting them, kind of the same color as the mansard roof, the metal roof. They're researching some drapes or things to house them. So yeah, they're trying to figure out how they might be able to lessen that aesthetic effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I had tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Parker?
Yes, sir, thank you, and thank you, seriously, wow, almost 100%. That's fabulous. Bus drivers, that's great. So thank you guys for all your hard work this summer. I know everyone down there, including Tracy, who's not here, worked hard on contracts all summer. They didn't really get a summer break, so I appreciate all your hard work. And I just wanted to mention I was here just last week for the dual enrollment and tech center folks, the kids who were here. They also got their laptops. Mark and Charlie did a great job getting everybody their laptops and their chargers, making sure everyone could log in. And I was just overwhelmed by the number of students and their families who were here and all of the different programs that we continue to offer. The Miss Walsh, who I don't see here tonight, but she did a fabulous job explaining how they sign up for CVCC. I mean, you guys should see the website she showed us. There's like 30 choices, and this high schooler is supposed to know which one to click on to get their schedule. I mean, and so the presentation was fabulous, and everyone left here, I mean, just everybody smiling, shaking hands. I really appreciate everybody who had something to do with that night. And looking forward to Thursday's open house. My last one's a senior. He's not even going to go, but I'm going. I'm looking forward to meeting his teachers. So looking forward to seeing a lot of people on campus this Thursday.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Mr. Brand?
Join with everyone thanking staff, like I said, almost 100%, and welcome all the students and new teachers back. It's great to have a large percentage of Campbell County former students come back and teach here in the county. That's excellent, and just looking forward to a great year for the students and for the teachers and for our staff. So.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Matt?
I'd just like to thank everybody for the hard work and getting the schools back in shape, the painting, the mowing. Everything looks great out the Vista except for the football field. But it is what it is. And I like to thank the new people who got the new jobs that stepped up and seem to be running that pretty smoothly. And the football cheerleaders are hosting a car wash at the fire department Saturday if anybody wants to come support them. That's all I got.
Are you gonna wash too?
I might. I'll take them a tractor trailer and wash.
Thank you, Mr. Mack.
Thank you.
I just like to thank everyone for their hard work this summer. I know a lot of times we think about the summer being off for the kids for sure, but in a lot of ways for the administration and staff, that's when the work begins. I mean, it's a lot that goes into the summer, getting us fully staffed for the fall, bus drivers and everything else. So thanks to everyone for all your hard work. I'm looking forward, excited for this new school year. My grandson's not as excited as I am, but nevertheless, looking forward to the upcoming year. So, unless we have any more comments, I believe we have a need for a closed session tonight. I'll entertain a motion for a closed meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we convene in a closed meeting for the discussion or consideration of disciplinary matters or other matters that would involve the disclosure of information contained in the scholastic record concerning a student in the school division, specifically students number 1 and number 7 from 2021 and 2022 school year, in accordance with Section 2.2-3711A2 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Maddox. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's take a 5-minute recess here, and then we'll get started. Thanks. open session. At this time, I'd like to ask for a motion certifying to the best of each member's knowledge that during our closed meeting, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion concerning the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the school board.
So move.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the administration's recommendation on student number 1, and I move that we accept the administration's recommendation on student number 7 as amended.
Second.
Got a motion on Mr. Jones and a second by Mr. Maddox. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Do we have any other matters?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Parker to adjourn and a second by Mr. Maddox. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.